Not sure if I got yesterday's. I still did one daily, but I did one as a YouTube short. Figured out a way to do it from my computer, which I figured out after I recorded it, so my framing was kind of bizarre in there. But anyway, tried it. Speaking of trying things, thought today I'd try something a little bit different, which is just a little more direct, of just sitting here chatting for a moment about starting the day, not trying to be about a given topic, literally just chatting. And I guess if I'm going to tie it to any sort of topic, it's just going to be the curious need that we have to sort of have conversation around us, right? It's deeply built into us. We're social creatures. We can be very distant from everybody else. And where I think this first came up to me was in regarding the podcast that we do, which our podcast, hometeamgamedev.com/podcast, which look, now I'm naturally just plugging something. For 5-6 years now, right? We interview people about game development stuff, their careers and backgrounds. We try to keep it very focused and specifically constantly kind of Q&A. We have questions from the live audience there. And then from that, we try to make it very informationally dense. And then I realized that the podcast a lot of people like to listen to, and we're going to keep doing our thing the way we do it. But I realized a whole lot of the very popular podcasts very much deviate in the rabbit trails, very much go off topic, very much 80%, 90% of the time are just people talking, laughing, being present, talking to each other. And that the way a lot of us experience podcasts, right, we just like it in the background. And the same's true for a lot of TV shows. It will put on reruns of things we've seen before, maybe even shows we haven't, as long as we're not having to concentrate to follow it, just while we're cooking, while we're doing other things. And realizing the space for that in our lives sometimes is also maybe met through some YouTube stuff, where my tendency can be very informationally dense. What's my topic? Coming at it, trying to bring some energy to it. And then thinking in terms of, maybe just part of what people need to or want to hear is having some company, having someone chat, hearing someone addressing them, right? Which is always a little bizarre. Obviously, we're digitally mediated here by several layers of camera equipment and screens and monitors and internet cables between us and so on. But I don't know, to that, the online interactions to me, whether they're same time, whether they're asynchronous, have always been to me equally valid and equally real to what we do in person. It's not as if people who are sitting at the same table are, directly physically in contact. It's already propagating waves through the air, electromagnetic radiation in the light, and whether or not that's getting garbled and ungarbled through wires and other stuff, or 5, 10, 20 minutes later, a week later, a month later, years later, it's still people communicating with each other, seeing each other, being present with each other, and, taking this time to be with y'all, and I suppose in a way vice versa, is just as real. So while a lot of us had to be kind of push more of our lives online for COVID the past couple years, I have kind of chose that life before that, right? For 5-6 years before that, working fully online, and most of my socializing was online, most of my meeting new people is online, most of my work and networking and involvement and volunteering is also all kind of done online through the computer. And I think it's helped me to recognize that as equally valid a way to be spending time with people, helping people, working with people, getting to know people, as, I don't know, why should it matter if we can smell each other? I guess in a way, right? And so, I don't know. That's just some of my thoughts this morning as I'm getting started. Made my coffee, just kind of getting started with the day, figuring out the day's calendar. There's, a lot of my work stuff is optional meetings of, I have a Calendly system where people who are home team people can book schedule calls with me. And so some days I get a bunch of those, some days I don't get as many. Just kind of push-pull depending on the progress of projects and how project leads are feeling, what's going on in their lives and so on. And so some days I wind up with unexpected surprise time, which is good, but then I try to make sure I don't waste that. Right, it's like you have a snow day, and then you want to make sure you're using that for something, even if it's only for yourself or for self-care or something, which I'm still going to be doing productivity, stuff from my work with it, but make sure the time doesn't go away. One of my old little art game projects was I was in grad school. I was assigned for jury duty. I went in that morning for jury duty, and immediately, probably within half an hour of me walking in there, I'd already written off, let my professors know I wouldn't be in class. I already kind of worked around anything else in my schedule for that day. Almost as soon as I got there, they sent me back home. They're like, we don't need you today. Thanks for coming in. Your needs are met for the year. And I was like, awesome. So I went back to my apartment, and I just sat down and just made a little game that day. Just a little micro game, right? Sort of a personal thing. And that was a thing in that case. There was an old image by an artist that depicted lungs. It's a breakout paddle showing the ball breaking these bricks that were shaped like lungs, and the paddle was a cigarette. And I was just curious how that game might be interpreted differently played than the image. And so it wasn't a hard game to build. It's obviously something I've built many games like before. It's one version of that's in my video course in my textbook. And But that stuck out to me as an example where I had a day, I had a certain plan for the day, the plan shifted, and then rather than letting the day just sort of then, result in not doing anything, being in my pajamas or something, which probably was still in my pajamas, I went ahead and still applied it to like, well, I'm going to do this I'm going to explore this interest that I have. And so that was a nice thing. By the way, the finding for that was actually a curiosity of, I put it online, like on Congregate, Newgrounds, it still had traffic back then. But the interesting thing was a lot of the comments were like, man, this game takes forever. And like the message is, smoking takes forever to kill you, because the lungs, to be a decent resolution, were lots of pixels of bricks. And at a typical controllable responsive speed for a breakout paddle and ball, even with decent ball control habits and skills and understanding about where the paddle gets hit affects where the ball goes, it still takes a really long time, like maybe a half an hour to beat that level. But the interesting to me was how we contextualized that thinking around half an hour is not a long time for cigarettes to kill you. Half an hour is a long time for a breakout level. And that the only way that we parsed that image into interactivity to frame its message or meaning was through the conventions of what did I expect from this genre or this game or this pattern as I've played or seen or expected before. And so anyway, that was my little takeaway there, and I was still very interested in games and the meaning that they bundle within them and how they're played and the mechanics and things. But anyway, obviously very rambly today. Again, that's kind of the point. I just kind of thought we'd kind of sit down, hang out, and I know part of also the wildness that is time zones and or just life schedules. I don't know where you are in the world. It might be evening there, it might be the next morning, might be weeks or months later when you're catching this, who knows. But anyway, thanks for spending this morning with me, where this has been my morning, sitting here hanging out with y'all. That's it for the day. Maybe tomorrow I'll do another short. Maybe tomorrow I'll do another normal video about a topic versus just kind of seeing what comes out. And yeah, that's it for now. Hope you have a great day. Bye for now.